Hi, this is Paul Turley, and I'm going to take you on a tour of a number of the enterprise capabilities for Power BI. This will consist of using DirectQuery with a small SQL Server database, DirectQuery with a large volume of data in a SQL Server database, and then using direct connections to analysis services, multidimensional, and analysis services tabular, all using on-premises data sources with the Power BI models and reports published to the Power BI service in the cloud. So we know that Power BI is a great platform for integrating, modeling, analyzing, and visualizing data from a lot of different sources. And just out of the box, using the Power BI desktop with the Power BI cloud-based service, you can manage a reasonably large volume of data, and you have some security capabilities. You can control what users can get to that data, and we also have role-based security in the Pro subscription. But we don't have the same fine level of security and user-based, user-specific filtering that we have when using other enterprise scale products like SQL Server and analysis services. So Power BI is really also an enterprise-ready platform that can be used in large-scale BI and analytics solutions when it's used in concert with enterprise scale data platform products like SQL Server and other products like Teradata and SAP HANA and Oracle and SQL Server analysis services. And that's what I'm going to show you. So what I have here are remote desktop connections to two different machines. These are both domain joined computers. This is my data center server that has a couple of instances of SQL Server running on it, here installed on-prem within my data center. And then I also have a developer computer where I just have some client tools installed, and that's running Windows 10. So let's take a quick look at my data center machine. I think I mentioned that these are both domain joined, and so typically you will need to have machines that are joined to a domain in order to use Active Directory and for all of the security to work. Let's take a quick look at SQL Server Management Studio. You can see that I have my relational instance here with some databases. I have the standard AdventureWorks DW sample or demo database that we've been using for years and years. This one for SQL Server 2016. I have databases called AirStats and Just Flight Stats that have some other specialized data that I'll talk about. And in particular, the AdventureWorks database has a sample data with a few tens of thousands of rows, but these databases actually have tens of millions of rows of sample data, which is a little more production-like, and I'll use that for demonstration purposes. Then I have an analysis services multidimensional instance, and that has the AdventureWorks multidimensional database and some cubes that actually get their data from this database. And then I also have a tabular instance. So this is SQL Server Analysis Services in tabular storage mode with a couple tabular databases. And I actually should have some, I've got an additional database that I'm actually populating right now as we speak. So in order to use on-prem data, either to do scheduled refresh of data in your Power BI model, or to be able to do direct connections to that on-premises data, you need to install the Power BI Enterprise Gateway. Now there are two gateways. There's the personal gateway, which is really used by an analyst to connect to database servers that they have access to, and then to pass those connections through up to a model that they publish to a subscription. or the enterprise gateway is typically used by an administrator, and it's installed on a server that runs as a service. So it's persistent and managed, and typically you can use it to manage multiple connections to different types of data sources. So you can see that I've already installed the gateway. All that's really interesting at this point is that it's installed. I'm going to connect it to my Power BI subscription, and when I do, you'll see that I've already given my enterprise gateway a name. I've called it Intelligent Biz Data Center, and that's really all I need to do at this point is install it, give it a name, and connect it to my subscription. The actual data source management is handled within the subscription. So let's open up a browser, and I've gone to Power BI and I've logged in. Now, typically when you have a lot of models published, you'll want to organize them into workspaces, and that's what I've done here. So you can see that I've created a workspace called Enterprise Data. That workspace doesn't currently have anything published to it. It doesn't have any content at all, and that's what I'm going to publish to in this demonstration. I'll go to the gear and choose Manage Gateways, and because I've already associated this gateway with this subscription, the gateway shows up. I have also already created some connections. For each of those connections, I simply click the plus sign, Add Data Source. I give the data source a name right here. The name of the data source is just for convenience and is actually not critical. You can call it anything you want. When you connect to a data source with Power BI Desktop, and then you publish that model to your Power BI subscription, if a data source exists within the enterprise gateway that has the same server name, instance, and database name, then that enterprise gateway managed connection will be utilized within your subscription by that Power BI model. If it isn't, then it treats it just like any other data source in Power BI, and there is no connection to an on-premises server. So you can see that I've already done that for each of my connections. So here's my connection to the AdventureWorks DW database. For that connection, I just gave it a data source name. I selected SQL Server. I entered the server name. I browsed to the database. I specified that I'm going to use a Windows credential to authenticate. I gave it my username, which was domain/username, a password, and then I saved that. So we can add one more connection. When I'm adding a data source, there are a lot of different types of data sources that I can use. Remember that these are all data resources that are accessible from the server that the enterprise gateway is installed on. And so if I want to refresh my model with CSV files or XML files or JSON files or a folder full of CSV files, I can do that, but it's from the perspective of the server. So I will need to provide a path on that server or to a file system that's accessible from the server. But you can see all of the data sources that are supported here by the enterprise gateway. I keep saying connection, and I mean data source. I'm going to add another data source, and I'll call this IntelBiz AirStats